Arthur and the True Francine. It was the first day of school. Everyone was worried about which teacher they would get. "I hope I get Miss Sweetwater," said Francine. "Anyone's better than Mr. Redburn," said Arthur. "He sleeps in a coffin," said Buster, "and drinks human blood." A big black car drove up. "Who died?" said Francine. "Maybe Mr. Redburn," said Arthur. A girl got out. "I'm Muffy Crosswire. Where's the third-grade antenna ears?" "Just ask for Mr. Redburn," said Buster. They all laughed. Everyone read Mr. Redburn's class list first. Francine groaned. "Not Redburn!" shouted Arthur. "Impossible!" said Sue Ellen. In Mr. Redburn's class, everyone sat in alphabetical order. No talking unless you raised your hand. Muffy was teacher's pet. Mr. Redburn even believed her when she said the cat ate her homework. Francine always seemed to be in trouble. But Francine and Muffy were best friends. They both liked scary movies and pistachio ice cream. They even had the same middle name, Alice. Muffy called Francine Slugger. She was the best hitter on the softball team. Francine called Muffy Tinsel Teeth. Muffy went to Francine's to study for the big math test. Francine studied very hard. Muffy played with Francine's gerbil and called strangers on the phone. In the test, Muffy copied all Francine's answers, even the wrong ones. Mr. Redburn called Muffy and Francine to his desk. Muffy smiled. "I don't cheat," she said. What could Francine say? "Francine," he said, "I'll see you after school every day this week." The big softball game against Miss Sweetwater's class was in 3 days. "Francine, how could you do this to us?" said Buster. "Without you, we'll lose for sure." Every day after school, Francine cleaned the boards and watched the team practice. Boy, did they need help. Every day, Muffy waited for Francine, but Francine walked right past. Muffy couldn't eat or sleep. Should she tell Mr. Redburn the truth? It was the day of the big game. Miss Sweetwater's class already had 2 runs when Muffy ran to find Francine. "Help! We need you!" said Muffy. "Mr. Redburn says you're up." "Not unless you tell him the truth," said Francine. "Well, put on your meat," said Muffy. "I already did." Francine saved the game with a home run. Everyone cheered and shouted, "We're number 1! We're number 1!" Muffy yelled, "Yeah, Francine! Way to go, Slugger!" Mr. Redburn treated everyone to sodas at Billy's Burger Barn. "This is the best chocolate soda I've ever tasted," said Muffy. "Hey, Muffy, how'd you like to play for the team?" asked Buster. "Yeah, we have just a spot for you," said Francine. "Not so fast," said Mr. Redburn. "Muffy will be washing the boards next week." Muffy whispered to Francine, "What will I play?" "Scorekeeper," said Francine. "But you better learn to add, and no cheating." Arthur Babysits. Arthur's sister DW had a problem. The Table twins are visiting again, and they're driving me crazy, she said. They're everywhere I go. Oh, they can't be that bad, said Arthur. How would you know? Said DW. Later that afternoon, Arthur and DW took Kate for a walk. Look, shouted the Tibble twins. There's DW. Oh no, said DW. Quick, let's hide. Mrs. Tibble looked worried. I'm in a trouble pickle, she said. I need a sitter for my grandsons tonight, and I can't find one anywhere. Arthur can do it, said DW. He babysits me all the time. Oh, Arthur, you are a lifesaver, said Mrs. Tibble. I'll call your mother and set it up right now. Babysitting is such a big responsibility, said Arthur. I'm a little nervous. You'll do a fine job, said Mother. We'll be right here if you want to call us, said Father. Here's my crash helmet, said DW. You'll need it. Why? Asked Arthur. Are you coming along? You think I'm trouble? Said DW. Just wait. On the way, Arthur walked by the sugar bowl. Hey, Arthur, called Buster. Where are you going? I'm on my way to babysit for Mrs. Tibble, said Arthur. Not the terrible Tibble twins? Gasped Prunella. My sister babysat for them once, and once was enough. You can always back out, said Buster, while you're still alive. Don't worry, said Francine. It'll be just like babysitting DW and baby Kate. Arthur remembered what that was like. Now he was really worried. Mrs. Tibble was waiting for Arthur. I'm so glad you're here, she said, and so are the twins. This is little Tommy in red, and Timmy's in blue. Almost bedtime, darlings. I'll be back soon. Very soon, I hope, said Arthur. Nighty-night, Grammy, said the twins sweetly. She's gone, screamed the twins. Playtime! No, bedtime, said Arthur. We're not sleepy, said Timmy. The phone rang. It was DW. I called with some advice, she said. Calm them down with a quiet game, like cards. Thanks, said Arthur. Bye. How about a nice quiet game of cards? Asked Arthur. Great, said the twins. We know a really good card game, said Tommy. 52 pickup, they screamed. Just then the phone rang again. It was DW. Sounds like they are out of control, she said. You need to show them who's boss. Thanks a lot, said Arthur. Let's play cowboys, said Tommy. I'll be the sheriff, said Arthur, because I'm the boss. And we'll be the bad guys, said Timmy. The next time the phone rang, Timmy answered it. Arthur can't come to the phone right now, he said. He's all tied up. Time for hide and seek, called Tommy. You'll never find us. When Arthur finally got loose, he searched and searched. If I don't find them soon, he thought, I'll be in big trouble. Just then the phone rang again. What's going on over there? Asked DW. Shouldn't they be in bed? I can't talk now, said Arthur. I'm looking for the twins. You mean you lost them? Shouted DW. Not exactly, he said. "I just can't find them." "You're in really big trouble," said DW. "What are you going to do?" Just then Arthur noticed the curtains wiggling. "You'll see," he said. "I sure hope I find them before the Swamp Thing does," he added loudly. "Swamp Thing?" asked Tommy from behind the curtain. "Yes, the one that comes out on nights just like tonight," Arthur said. "Sit down and I'll tell you about it." Arthur used his spookiest voice. Once in a dark, spooky swamp, there lived a horrible, big, slimy, stinky green swamp thing, he began. "You mean like a monster?" Tommy asked meekly. "Exactly," said Arthur, "with long, sharp teeth, and the swamp thing realized it was very, very hungry," said Arthur. "It left the swamp in search of dinner." "What did it like to eat?" Timmy asked in a shaky voice. "Boys," said Arthur, "especially twin boys." The twins moved closer to Arthur. "The swamp thing began to moan from hunger," continued Arthur, "until it came to a big old house, just like this one." "I hear footsteps!" cried Timmy. "It's only your imagination," said Arthur. "Want to sit on my lap?" "Well, just for a minute," said Timmy. "Slowly," whispered Arthur, with its big, slimy green hand. The swamp thing opened the front door. "I smell dinner," it said. It licked its lips. "Help!" screamed the twins. "It's coming in our front door!" yelled Timmy. Just then the door did open, and the lights went on. "I'm home," said Mrs. Teeble, "and look at my little angels." "Arthur must be a wonderful babysitter." "He's not scared of anything," said Timmy. "And he tells great stories, too," said Tommy. "We want him to babysit again." The twins hugged Arthur good night. Then Mrs. Teeble paid Arthur and thanked him for doing such a fine job. When Arthur got home, DW was still up. "You're home early," she said. "Did you get fired?" "No," said Arthur. "Babysitting isn't so bad. Mrs. Teeble thinks I'm pretty good at it. Now she wants me to babysit the twins every afternoon right here at our house, and since you know so much about babysitting, you can help." Arthur's TV trouble. It all started while Arthur was watching the Bionic Bunny show. "Dogs 11," said the announcer. "The amazing treat timer. Treat your pet to treat timer. Only 19.95. Treats may vary. Batteries not included. If you love your pet, get a treat timer." "Wow," said Arthur. "Pal needs one of those." Ads for the treat timer were everywhere. Now Arthur really wanted one. Arthur counted his money. DW helped. "Even with all my birthday money," he said, "I only have $10.03. "I know what you're thinking," said DW. She ran to protect her cash register. Arthur decided to ask Dad for an advance on his allowance. "Gee, I'd love to help," said Dad, "but my catering business is a little slow right now." Arthur knew Mom would understand. "Money doesn't grow on trees," said Mother. And I think Pal likes treats from you, not a machine. On the way to school, Arthur was walking very slowly. "What are you doing?" asked Buster. "Looking for money," said Arthur. "I want to buy Pal a treat timer." "Those are very expensive," said Buster. "You need a job." "I need a miracle," said Arthur. At school, while everyone else took the spelling test, Arthur daydreamed about the treat timer. Mr. Redburn asked Arthur to stay after school to take the test over. Arthur took the long way home so he could think of a good excuse for why he was late. Mr. Sipple was cleaning his garage. "Hi, Arthur," he said. "Every 50 years I clean the place out. I could use a little help." "I could use a little money," said Arthur. "All these newspapers need to be recycled," said Mr. Sipple. "I'll pay you 50 cents a stack to take them out to the curb." "Great!" said Arthur. "I'll do it tomorrow." "I won't be home until after dinner," said Mr. Sipple. "But you can get started. Everything you need to do the job is here." "I'm rich!" thought Arthur. All of a sudden, Arthur was in a big hurry to get home. "I've got a job!" cried Arthur. "Now I can buy a treat timer." "Can I go to the mall with you?" asked D.W. "Sure," said Arthur. "I wish you were rich all the time," said D.W. "You're much nicer." The next day, Arthur counted the stacks as he pulled them to the curb. 24. "That makes 12 whole dollars," cried Arthur. "I'll come back later to collect." "You look exhausted," said D.W. when Arthur got home. "I don't want to see another newspaper for a long, long time," said Arthur. "Well, then you don't look out the window," said D.W. "So that's what the string was for," said Arthur. "I'd better hurry before Mr. Sipple gets home." "Wait for me," said D.W. "You're in big trouble," said D.W. "You missed some over there. These stacks could be a lot neater. Are you using double knots?" "Nice work," said Mr. Sipple when he got home. "Here's your $12. "Thank you, sir," said Arthur. "I helped," said D.W. "Don't I get something?" "You get a trip to the mall, remember?" said Arthur. The next morning, Arthur and his family were the first ones at the mall. Arthur put his money on the counter. "One treat timer, please," he said. "It looks bigger on TV," said Arthur when he saw the box. "You assemble it, of course," said the salesperson. "And remember, all sales are final." 5 hours later, the treat timer was assembled. "You are going to love it, Pal," said Arthur. Pal sniffed it. Arthur turned it on. It clicked. Lights flashed. Treats shot out like rockets. Pal let out a loud bark and ran for cover. "Turn it off!" yelled Mother. "I'm trying to," said Arthur, "but I think it's broken." "And remember," said D.W., "all sales are final." Arthur went to his room to be alone. "I'm worried," said Mother. "He's been up there for hours." "I know how to get him out," said D.W. "It's 7 o'clock," she yelled up the stairs. "The Bionic Bunny show is on." Seconds later, Arthur appeared. "Sit down," said DW, "so I can protect you from those nasty commercials." "I don't need this," said Arthur. "There's no way a TV ad will get all my hard-earned money again." "It's the magic disappearing box," said the announcer. "Astound your friends. Eliminate your enemies. The magic disappearing box from Kid Tricks." Said Arthur. "Now this could be useful." "What would you ever do with that?" asked DW. "Oh," said Arthur, "you might be surprised." Arthur's first sleepover. Arthur was getting ready for his first sleepover. "It isn't until Saturday," called Mother. "Come in and eat your breakfast." Father laughed while he read the paper. "Some man in town says he saw a spaceship." He chuckled. "Probably the same man who thinks he saw Elvis at the mall," joked Mother. "I don't believe in aliens," said Arthur. "Well, the National Enquirer does," said DW. "And they'll pay a lot of money for a picture of one." On the way to school, the girls were talking about the spaceship. Arthur wanted to talk about his sleepover. "We can have the sleepover in my tent," said Arthur. "You wouldn't catch me out in a tent with these spaceships landing," said Muffy. "Bad news," said Buster. "My mom thinks I'm too young for a sleepover. I can't come." "But you have to," said Arthur. "It's my first sleepover, and you're my best friend." "Why do they call them sleepovers?" said Francine. "No one ever sleeps." That afternoon, Arthur told his mother about Buster's problem. "Well, I'll see what I can do," said Mother. Arthur crossed his fingers while she dialed. Buster's mom did all the talking. "Yes? No? Of course not," said Mother. "Absolutely. Good talking with you too. Bye." Mother smiled and nodded her head yes. "Hooray!" cried Arthur. "Does Buster's mom know about the spaceship?" asked DW. "I saw flashing lights from one today." "I think that was the pizza shop sign," said Mother. Saturday morning, Arthur was outside making the tent cozy for his sleepover. His family helped too. "I was just thinking," said DW. "How do we know you're our real parents and not aliens in their bodies?" "Did you brush your teeth?" asked Father. "And pick up that mess in your room, young lady," said Mother. Okay, said DW. "They sound real to me," said Arthur. Arthur was looking for his flashlight when Buster and the Brain arrived. "It was here a minute ago," said Arthur. "I wonder if you'll see any aliens," said DW. "If we do," said the Brain, "how will we communicate with them?" "Forget about communicating," said DW. "Take pictures for the National Enquirer. Use my camera. We can split the money." "Let's make some signs," said Arthur. "Good idea," said Buster. "But first I have to call my mom." After they finished their signs, they unpacked. "I brought a few snacks," said the Brain. "I brought a rubber snake," said Arthur. to keep DW away. What did you bring, Buster? Just my baseball cards, said Buster, and my blankie. Do you think we really see aliens tonight? No. Do you? Said Arthur. Highly unlikely, said the brain. The boys forgot all about aliens. They were too busy telling jokes and trading baseball cards. Pillow fight! Screamed Buster. Quiet! Said the brain. What's that sound? Footsteps! Whispered Buster. And they're getting closer, said Arthur. Oh! Oh! Pizza delivery! Called an unfamiliar voice. Compliments of the sleepover parents. Everyone laughed. I almost stopped breathing, said Arthur. I almost wet my pants, said Buster. Before they knew it, they heard another voice. Lights out, said Father. It's after 9, bedtime. Already? Said Arthur. Thank you for the pizza, sir, said the brain. You're welcome, said Father. Good night. Good night, said the boys sweetly. As soon as they heard Father go back into the house, they shot out of their sleeping bags like cannonballs. I heard bedtime, said the brain, but I didn't hear sleep time. Let's tell spooky stories, said Arthur. How about cards? Suggested Buster. Just as it was Arthur's turn to go fish, they saw the flashing lights. They dropped their cards. It got very quiet. Aliens, whispered Buster. I don't hear any footsteps, whispered Arthur. Of course not, said the brain. They haven't landed yet. Lights flashed again. They're headed for our tent. Run for your life! No one could find the flaps. Help! Screamed Buster. Let me out! The tent collapsed. That didn't stop them from making a run for it, but a large maple tree did. Ouch! Said Arthur. I'm calling my mom, said Buster. Look, said the brain. The lights are coming from your house. I think I know this alien, said Arthur. It's from the planet DW. Arthur noticed the things they used to make signs. That gave him an idea. Let's put our tent back up. I think I know a way we can teach that little space creature a lesson. Later, Arthur crept quietly into the house. DW was in her room laughing. What's so funny? He asked. What are you doing up here? Said DW. Did you come in because you're scared? Not really, said Arthur. I'm returning your camera. You'll probably see an alien before we will. I doubt it, said DW. Well, just in case, said Arthur. Sweet dreams. Then, very quietly, he returned to his tent. A minute later, DW heard a tap at her window. Aliens! She screamed. She screamed so loud it woke up everyone in the neighborhood. Everyone except Buster, the brain, and Arthur. When Mother and Father went out to check, the boys were sleeping like little angels. Of course, after Mother and Father went back into the house, it was another story. Arthur's Halloween. It was the night before Halloween. Arthur's family was busy making the house look spooky. It looked so spooky, in fact, that Arthur had trouble falling asleep. Things were even worse the next morning. "Help!" screamed Arthur when he opened his eyes. "It's just me," said his sister D.W. "Boy, are you jumpy! Don't forget, you have to take me trick-or-treating tonight." "Do I really have to?" asked Arthur as he ate his cereal. "You really do," said his mother. "And I want to go to every house," said D.W. Arthur groaned. "I'll be the only one who has to drag his baby sister along." Arthur didn't recognize anyone at school. There was a giant robot in his classroom taking attendance. "You sound just like my teacher, Mr. Marco," said Arthur. "I am your teacher," said the robot. The only one Arthur recognized was the brain. He was wrapped in aluminum foil. "I'm a baked potato," said the brain. Francine passed out special morning snacks. "Eat this," she said. "They're bat-wing brownies and vampire blood." Everyone ate them but Arthur. Then they all put on blindfolds. Buster passed around bowls he said were filled with human eyeballs, hearts, and brains. Arthur turned pale. When it was his turn, he wouldn't even touch them. "What a scaredy cat," said Francine. "Chicken," said Muffy. "They're only peeled grapes, jello, and cold spaghetti." When it came time to go trick-or-treating, Buster knew which houses to skip. "Don't go there," he said. "They only give apples." "Gross," said Francine. "And don't go to the big house on the corner," said Buster. "That's the witch's house. My brother saw someone go in there last Halloween, and he never came out." Arthur tried not to look afraid. Arthur and his sister had trouble keeping up with the others. First, D.W. got her tail caught. Then her back broke. "You're such a pain in the neck," said Arthur. "D.W. must be short for dim-wit." But D.W. didn't answer. Arthur turned around just in time to see her disappear into the witch's house. Arthur's hands turned ice cold, and his heart began to race. He walked up to the spooky old house. The front door was open just a crack. Slowly, Arthur went inside. "Look!" cried Buster. "Arthur just went into the witch's house." "She will probably put Arthur and D.W. into her oven, just like Hansel and Gretel," said Sue Ellen. "Maybe she's using them for weird scientific experiments," said the brain. "I bet she locked them in the cellar to starve," said Buster. "Maybe we should follow him," said Francine. "Maybe we should call the police," said Muffy. Everyone was too scared to move. Inside the house it was very cold. Arthur thought he saw ghosts all around him. He walked down the long dark hall. At the end he saw a light on their door. He heard voices. One was his sister's. "Oh, there you are," said the witch. "We were waiting for you." "I came to get my sister. We have to go. I hear my mother calling us," said Arthur. "I don't hear anything," said D.W. "My name is Mrs. Teeble. I hope you won't leave without some cider and doughnuts first." "They're chocolate, your favorite," said D.W. "I've waited all night for trick-or-treaters." "But you are the only ones," said Mrs. Teeble. "Years ago our doorbell never stopped ringing." "Maybe it's broken like the windows," said D.W. Mrs. Teeble nodded. "It is harder for me to keep up with this big place these days." "Maybe if we help you fix up your yard, the place won't look so spooky," said Arthur. Arthur finished his doughnut as Mrs. Teeble opened the door and turned on the porch light. She gave Arthur and D.W. a big hug. "See you Saturday to rake leaves," said Arthur. "You are still alive," said Francine. "I can't believe you went in there alone," said the brain. "You are so brave," said Sue Ellen. "What's in the bag?" asked Buster. "Probably eyeballs, hearts, and brains," said Francine. "It's easy to find out," said Arthur. "Just close your eyes and reach in unless you're too scared." "We've been to every house now. Can we take the shortcut home through the cemetery?" asked D.W. "The cemetery? On Halloween? Are you guys crazy?" asked Francine. "Follow me," said Arthur as he marched ahead. "The cemetery is a great place. People are just dying to get in." Arthur's pet business. "You've been looking at puppies for months," said D.W. "When are you going to ask Mom and Dad if you can have one?" "I'm waiting for just the right moment," said Arthur, "so promise not to say anything." That night at dinner, Father asked, "What's new?" "Arthur wants a puppy," said D.W. "Blabbermouth," said Arthur. "A puppy is a big responsibility," said Father. "I can take care of it," said Arthur. "We'll think about it," Mother said. "That means no," explained D.W. After dinner, Mother and Father did the dishes. "Can you hear what they are saying?" asked Arthur. "They are worried about the new carpet," whispered D.W. Suddenly the door opened. "We've decided you may have a puppy if you can take care of it," said Father. "Wow!" said Arthur. "But," said Mother, "first you need to show us you're responsible." "How will I ever prove I'm responsible?" asked Arthur. "The best way I know is to get a job," said D.W. "Then you can pay back the $7 you owe me." Ka-ching! went her cash register. Arthur wondered what kind of job he could do. "You could work for my dad at the bank," said Muffy. "He needs some new tellers." "If I were you, I'd get a job at Joe's junk yard crushing old cars," offered Binky Barnes. Do something that you like, said Francine. That gave Arthur an idea. I'll take care of other people's pets, said Arthur. Then Mom and Dad will know I can take care of my own. Arthur and Francine put up signs to advertise his new business. His family helped too. Arthur waited and waited. Then, just before bedtime, the phone rang. "Hello," he said. "Arthur's pet business. How may I help you?" "Yes." "No." "When?" "Where?" "Great," said Arthur. "Hooray! I'm going to watch Mrs. Wood's dog while she's on vacation, and I'll earn $10. "Oh, no," said D.W. "Not nasty little Perky." "Isn't that the dog the mailman calls Joss?" asked Father. "That's Perky," said D.W. The next morning, Arthur ran all the way to Mrs. Wood's house. "Right on time," said Mrs. Wood. "Grrr," growled Perky. "She hasn't been herself lately," said Mrs. Wood. "I'm worried." "I'll take good care of her," said Arthur. "We'll be best friends." "Grrr," growled Perky. "Here's her schedule and a list of things she doesn't like," said Mrs. Wood. "I'll see you next Sunday." Arthur did his best to make Perky feel at home. Every day he brushed her. He tried to fix her favorite foods. They took lots of long walks, day and night. Perky made sure they had the whole sidewalk to themselves. "You look exhausted," said Mother. "Maybe taking care of a dog is too much work." "Any dog I get will be easier than Perky," said Arthur. Word of Arthur's pet business got around. On Monday, the Macmillans asked Arthur to watch their canary, Sunny. On Tuesday, Prunella gave Arthur her aunt's farm. On Wednesday, the Brain asked Arthur to take care of his frogs while he went on vacation. Best of all, on Thursday, the amazing Larry asked Arthur to keep Cuddles, his trained boa constrictor. Animals were everywhere until Mother put her foot down. "I want all these animals in the basement now," she ordered. By bedtime, all the pets were downstairs. All except Perky. Perky slept in Arthur's room. On Saturday, Buster asked Arthur to go to the movies. "I can't," said Arthur. "When I finish cleaning these cages, it'll be feeding time. And anyway, it's Perky's last night with me, and she seems sick. I don't want to leave her." "Well, I bet you're happy today," said D.W. the next morning. "You get rid of Perky and collect $10. "I can't believe it," said Arthur. "But I'm going to miss Perky." "Arthur, Mrs. Wood just called to say she's on her way over," said Mother. "Now, wait here, Perky," ordered Arthur. "I'll go and get your leash." When Arthur went back into the kitchen, Perky was gone. "Here, Perky! Perky!" called Arthur, but Perky didn't come. "She's not in the basement," called Father. "She's not in the backyard," said D.W. "She's lost," said Arthur. "Uh-oh," said D.W. "You're in big trouble." "Arthur, Mrs. Wood is here," called Mother. "Hi, Mrs. Wood," said D.W. "Guess what? Arthur lost Perky." "My poor little darling is lost?" asked Mrs. Wood. "Don't worry," said Father. "Arthur's looking for her right now." Suddenly they heard a bark. "Everybody, come quick!" called Arthur. "Look," said Arthur. "Perky's had puppies." "No wonder she's been acting so strange," said Mrs. Wood. "You've done a wonderful job taking care of Perky, when she needed a friend the most. How can I ever thank you?" "A reward might be nice," suggested D.W. "Shush!" said Mother. "Here's the money I owe you," said Mrs. Wood. "And how would you like to keep one of Perky's puppies as a special thank you?" "I would love to," said Arthur, "if I'm allowed." "Of course," said Mother. "You've earned it." "Wow," said Arthur. $10 and my very own puppy. I can't believe it." "Neither can I," said D.W. "Now you can finally pay back my $7. Ka-ching! Went her cash register. Arthur's new puppy. Arthur loved his new puppy, and Pal loved Arthur. "He's a very active puppy," said Arthur. "He's a very naughty puppy," said D.W. "Don't worry," said Arthur. "I'll have him trained in no time." "Here's your new home," said Arthur. "You'll have the whole garage to yourself." But Pal did not like the garage. As soon as Arthur put him down, Pal ran and hid. "He feels lonesome," said Arthur. "Can he stay in the house? Please, please, please." "Oh, all right," said Mother, "but only for a day or two." Arthur made a cozy spot for Pal in the kitchen. "I thought you might need a few newspapers," said D.W. Arthur held Pal carefully, the way his puppy book showed. "Look, he's so excited," said Arthur. "Look at your pants," said D.W. "You have excitement all over them." "It's okay," said Arthur. "He's just a baby." "Well, I think baby dogs should wear diapers," said D.W. Later, Pal ate his dinner in a flash. "Oh, oh!" said D.W. "He has that look in his eyes again." "Quick!" said Arthur. "His leash!" But when Pal saw his leash, he ran and hid. "I don't think he likes his leash," said D.W. "Help me find him," said Arthur. "I guess he didn't have to go after all," said D.W. "I was wrong." "No, you were right," said Arthur. "He just went." Later that night, when everyone was asleep, Pal yelped and howled until he woke up the entire family. "Go to sleep," said Arthur. Pal wanted to play. "Don't forget to close his gate," called Mother. "Good night," said Father. "Good luck," said D.W. The next morning, Arthur was still in the kitchen. "Wake up, sleepyhead," said D.W., "and be careful where to step." "Oh, no," said Arthur. "I forgot to close Pal's gate." "Here's your scooper," said Mother. You think this is bad, said Father. Wait until you see the living room. Pal looked very proud of himself. My new drapes, cried Mother. My doll, screamed G.W. Bad dog, said Arthur. Pal is moving to the garage, ordered Mother. Here's the key to the garage, said Father. I'll help you move these things after dinner. Father put the key on the hall table. Arthur packed up Pal's things and went to get the garage key, but it was gone. The whole family searched for the key. Pal watched. It has to be here somewhere, said Mother, but the key was nowhere to be found. It looks like you can stay in the house one more night, Arthur said. I heard Mom and Dad whispering, said D.W. And Pal's in big trouble. They said he better be trained soon or else. Shush, said Arthur. You will hurt his feelings. That night, Arthur remembered to close Pal's gate. At school, Arthur told Francine and Buster about training Pal. I'm going to teach him to do all kinds of things, said Arthur. I used to have a puppy too, said Buster, but he was too much trouble. My parents sent him to a farm. My cousin had a problem puppy, said Francine. No one could train him. One day he just disappeared while she was at school. After school, Arthur hurried home. Oh no, said Arthur. What happened? I thought I would take him for a walk, said D.W. But when he saw the leash, he went wild. You better get this cleaned up before Mom sees it. Where is Mom? Asked Arthur. In the backyard, said D.W., looking for the garage key. Have you seen my dog training book? Asked Arthur. What's left of it is over there, said D.W. That night, Arthur gave Pal an extra training lesson. I'll help you train this beast, said D.W. Let me get my whip. No, said Arthur. Dogs respond better to love. Watch, said Arthur. He's getting better. Sit, said Arthur. Lie down, said Arthur. Stay, ordered Arthur. I know something he'll understand, said D.W. Time for your walk, Pal. He just needs a little more work. That's all, said Arthur. But Pal needed a lot more work. Arthur set up a training school in the backyard. On Monday, they worked on sit. On Tuesday, they worked on down. Wednesday was stay day. By Thursday, Pal was doing tricks. Good dog, Pal, said Arthur. Arthur decided to put on a puppy show for his family. When they see how well you're trained, they'll never send you away, said Arthur. Arthur got up early Saturday morning to give Pal a bath. After breakfast, Arthur's family took their seats. Welcome to Arthur's puppy show, said Arthur. He held his breath. What you are about to see will amaze and astound you. If Pal amazes us any more, our whole house will be destroyed, said D.W. Arthur clapped his hands. Come, he said, and Pal came. Sit, said Arthur, and Pal sat. Down, said Arthur. Down went Pal. Pal even did a trick. Good dog, said Arthur. He is a good dog, said Mother. You mean he won't have to live on a farm? Asked Arthur. Of course not, said Father. Not even in the garage. No one noticed Pal ran behind the rose bushes. When Pal returned, he sat up and wagged his tail. Look, he has something in his mouth, said D.W. It's the key to the garage, said Arthur. Good boy, Pal, said Father. Amazing, said Mother. That night, Arthur gave Pal a special dinner. Time for your walk, Pal, said Arthur. I'll get your leash. But Arthur couldn't find it anywhere. It was on the hook a minute ago, said Arthur. I know I left it there. I'll help you look, said D.W. Mother and Dad helped too. It has to be here somewhere, said Arthur. No one noticed Pal run behind the rose bushes. Arthur's teacher trouble. The bell rang. The first day of school was over. Kids ran out of every classroom. Every one but room 13. Here, the students filed out slowly in alphabetical order. See you tomorrow, said their teacher, Mr. Ratburn. I can't believe he gave us homework the first day, said Arthur. I had the red last year, said Prunella. Boy, do I feel sorry for you. Make one wrong move, warned Binky Barnes, and he puts you on death row. He's really a vampire with magical powers, said Chris. As everyone was leaving, the principal came out of his office. Are you ready for the September Spellathon? He asked. Yes, cheered the crowd. Who's going to win this year? Asked the principal. Me, everyone shouted. If I win again this year, do I get my name on the trophy twice? Asked Prunella. Not if I can help it, whispered Francine. When Arthur got home, he slammed the back door. How was school? Mother asked. I got the strictest teacher in the whole world, grumbled Arthur. Have a chocolate chip cookie, said Mother. Don't have time, said Arthur. I have tons of homework. I'll eat Arthur's, said D.W. I don't have any homework. You don't even go to school, said Arthur. I know, D.W. smiled. After dinner, Arthur was still doing homework. What's that? asked D.W. It's a map of Africa, said Arthur. Looks like a pepperoni pizza, said D.W. Next year, when I'm in kindergarten, I won't have any homework. Miss Meeker never gives it. Mom, called Arthur. D.W. is being a pest. Time for bed, said Mother. You can finish your map of Florida in the morning. Africa, said Arthur. The next day, Mr. Ratburn announced the spelling test for Friday. I want you to study very hard, he said. The test will have 100 words. Buster looked pale. And, continued Mr. Ratburn, the 2 students with the highest scores will represent our class at the old school spellathon. That week, everyone in Arthur's class studied harder than ever. Arthur spent a lot of time looking for quiet places to study. Suddenly, it was Friday and time for the test. Arthur could smell Miss Sweetwater's class making popcorn. He could hear Mrs. Fink's class leaving for a trip to the aquarium. "Why did we have to get stuck with the rat?" he whispered to Francine. Mr. Ratburn corrected their papers during lunch. "Class," he said, "most of you did very well on the test, but only 2 of you spelled every word correctly." Muffy smiled. Francine hiccuped. Buster patted his good luck charm. Mr. Ratburn cleared his throat. "Our class representatives for the spellathon will be the Brain and Arthur." "There must be some mistake," said Muffy. Mr. Ratburn gave Arthur and the Brain each a special list of words. "Just study these and you'll be ready for the spellathon in 2 weeks," he said. Arthur's family helped him study. Grandma asked Arthur his spelling words. "How about your chores?" Father asked. "Have you made your bed?" Mother added. DW helped too. When Francine and Buster came over, DW answered the door. "Arthur can't play, but I can," she said. "I don't have to study." "I can't believe the spellathon is finally here," said Grandma. "Maybe now we'll get a little peace and quiet," DW said. "Good luck, Arthur," said Mother and Father. From backstage, Arthur could hear the whole school out in the auditorium. "Well, today's the big day," said Mr. Ratburn. "How do you feel?" "I feel fine," the Brain answered. Arthur gulped. "I wish I were still back in bed." The principal welcomed everyone and explained the rules. The Brain had the first turn. He stepped up to the microphone. "The first word is fear," said the principal. "FERE," said the Brain, a little too quickly. "I'm sorry," said the principal. "That's not correct." "Are you sure?" asked the Brain. "What dictionary are you using?" The Brain wasn't the only one to drop out quickly. The representatives from Miss Sweetwater's and Mrs. Fink's class were gone in a flash. Before long, only Arthur and Prunella were left. It was Prunella's turn. "The word is preparation," said the principal. Prunella looked down at her feet. "Could I have the definition, please?" she asked after a moment. "Preparation," the principal repeated. "The process of getting ready." "Of course," said Prunella. "P-R-E-P." She paused. "E-R-A-T-I-O-N." "I'm sorry, that's incorrect," said the principal. "Now Arthur gets a chance to spell it." Arthur looked out over the audience and took a deep breath. "Preparation," he said. "P-R-E-P-A-R-A-T-I-O-N." "Correct," said the principal. Everyone in Mr. Ratburn's class cheered. Then Mr. Ratburn went to the microphone. "I'm very proud of Arthur," he said. "In fact, I'm proud of my whole class. They worked very hard. This is the last third grade I'll have in the spellathon. But next year, I look forward to a new challenge. Teaching kindergarten. Arthur's tooth. Finally, Arthur had a loose tooth. He wiggled it with his tongue. He wiggled it with his finger. He wiggled it all the time. One afternoon, while Arthur was wiggling his tooth during math, he heard a loud scream. Francine jumped up. "My tooth just fell out on my desk," she cried. "Class, how many of you have lost a tooth?" asked Mr. Marco. Everyone but Arthur raised their hands. When Arthur got home, he didn't want any milk and cookies. "What's the matter, Arthur?" his mother asked. "I am the only one in my class who still has all his baby teeth," he complained. "Don't worry," said his sister D.W. "Before you know it, all your teeth will fall out and you can get false teeth like Grandma Thora." Arthur persuaded father to make a special dinner for him. Steak, corn on a cob, and peanut brittle. "I can't believe one little tooth can take so long to fall out," said father. The next day, Muffy brought in a whole jar of her teeth for show and tell. "I got $2 for each one," she said. "One from my dad and one from my mom. I put it all in the bank to earn interest. I'm waiting for my investment to double." "Not me," said Francine. "I'm spending mine." Later, the class saw a movie called Nasty Mr. Tooth Decay. Between the ages of 4 and 7, the announcer began. Everyone begins to lose their deciduous, or baby, teeth. "Everyone except Arthur," shouted Francine. The whole class laughed. Arthur slid down in his seat. He wiggled his tooth as hard as he could. In the cafeteria, Francine practiced her new tricks. "Look," she said, "I can keep my teeth closed and still drink through a straw. And I can squirt water too. Everybody, line up for a squirting contest. Everybody except Arthur. Babies with baby teeth can't squirt water." By the next day, Arthur was convinced his loose tooth would never fall out. His friends tried to help. Buster brought carrots for Arthur's lunch. Sue Ellen showed Arthur how to put raisins over his teeth to make it look as if some were missing. The brain invented a special machine. "It's a tooth remover," he explained. "Just put your head in here." Even Binky Barnes wanted to help. "I can knock that tooth out in 1 second flat," he said. That night, Arthur spent a lot of time in front of the bathroom mirror. He got up very early the next morning to wiggle his tooth again. "See how much looser it is," he told his parents. "That's it," said his mother. "You need professional help. You're going to the dentist today." "Going to the dentist?" asked Francine. "Boy, do I feel sorry for you." There were other patients waiting to see Dr. Sozio. "Sorry," said the nurse. "We're running late. Have a seat." "Arthur, you were smart to bring a book," said Mother. Finally, it was Arthur's turn. "I wish all my patients were as good at waiting as you are," said Dr. Sozio. "How old are you now, Arthur?" "7," said Arthur, "and I still have all my baby teeth." "I was 8 before I lost my first tooth," said Dr. Sozio. "Everyone is different." "Really?" said Arthur. Dr. Sozio examined Arthur's loose tooth. "This one should fall out very soon," he said. "Just wait." Arthur got back to school just in time for recess. "Still have all your baby teeth?" Francine asked. "Then you can't be in the game. I'm the Tooth Fairy. Only people who have lost teeth can play." "If you are the Tooth Fairy," said Arthur, "I think I'll keep all my teeth. I can wait." He started over to the softball game. "Whoever I touch," said Francine, "loses a tooth." She flapped her arms. "The one who loses the most wins." Francine twirled around and touched Buster. She twirled faster and touched Sue Ellen. Twirling even faster, she slipped and hit Arthur. "Sorry, Arthur," Francine said, "but I told you, no babies allowed." Arthur picked up his glasses. "It's okay," he said. "It's probably the nicest thing you've ever done for me." "What do you mean?" asked Francine. Arthur just smiled. Arthur's Valentine. Someone was sending Arthur valentines, and Valentine's Day wasn't until Friday. They were all signed "Your Secret Admirer." It was a real mystery. Who was Arthur's secret admirer? It might be Fern. It could be Buster playing a joke. Or maybe even Francine. She was always teasing Arthur. Arthur hoped it was the new girl, Sue Ellen. On Wednesday, Arthur found a new valentine. Apples, bananas, peaches, a pear, with a face like yours. You're lucky I care. Your secret admirer. P.S. In your lunch box you'll find a treat. It's just for you and it's extra sweet. Arthur hoped it might be chocolate, but at lunch he found this note. Candy is sweet. Lemons are sour. I'll be watching you the whole lunch hour. Arthur looked at Sue Ellen. She smiled. Thursday, everyone made Valentine boxes. Arthur decided to make a special card instead. When everyone mailed their valentines, Arthur put his card in Sue Ellen's box. Then, when nobody was looking, Arthur hid the valentines from the secret admirer in his coat pocket. After school, Arthur took off his coat to play soccer, and all the valentines fell out. Everyone laughed. Buster called him Lover Boy. "Hey, hot lips!" shouted Francine. Arthur laughed when everyone sang. Arthur and his girlfriend sitting in a tree, Kissing. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes Arthur with the baby carriage. The next morning, Arthur said he was sick. You don't want to miss the big Valentine's Day party, do you? Asked his mother. Arthur went to school. Eek! Who sent this mushy Valentine? Said Sue Ellen. It's signed Arthur, shouted Buster. Everybody laughed. Arthur loves Sue Ellen, everyone sang. After school, Arthur wanted to be alone. On the way home, he climbed up to his tree house. There he found another Valentine. I love you in London. I love you in Rome. Look in your mailbox when you get home. XOXOXOXOXOXOXOXOXOXOX. Your secret admirer. Oh, gross, said Arthur, and ran into the house. I believe this is for you, Arthur, said his mother. It's a love letter, said his sister. Arthur went to his room. There was a movie ticket in the card. My love, tomorrow is the day. We meet in row 3. You in seat A, me in seat B, your secret admirer. On the card, Arthur saw a smudge. He looked very closely. Something had been erased. There was an F and an R and an A. Francine. The next day, Arthur had a plan. He ran to the movies so he wouldn't be late. He found row 3. He sat in seat A. Francine smiled at Arthur. So you're the secret admirer, said Arthur. Good guess, Four Eyes. Close your eyes, said Arthur. I want to give you a kiss. Really? Said Francine. Close your eyes and count to 10. Okay, said Francine. Arthur, can I open my eyes yet? Asked Francine. Arthur?